Welcome to the wine show at home, Greg McHugh. Welcome.
Hello, thanks very much, Joe.
This is a bit different from being in Berry Brothers and Rod's shop.
Yeah, it was. That was an interesting day.
'Cause didn't you have an awards ceremony or something afterwards?
Oh, probably, Joe. You know what I'm like. It's, what day of the week it was? It yeah. Of course, there was an award ceremony. I think there might have been actually, but yeah, I remember because we'd been in contact over Twitter, and you said, whenever you're in town, just drop in. And on that day, as I walked past, I thought, I wonder if he meant that or not. And I put it to the test, and I wondered about the shop, and they must have just thought I was like a loitering shoplifter. And then went up and went, "Is Joe Fattarinian?" and, and and then eventually someone came back down 10 minutes later going, yeah, he is. So that was lovely. And then you gave me that amazing tour of the cellars.
Did you feel that sort of tension of being a Scotsman in a wine shop, being watched?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And quite right, because I stole about 5 bottles, so they were absolutely, their instincts were bang on. So, no, but to get to see the cellars and the old Winston Churchill collection and a bit of history was very intriguing indeed. So thanks for that.
You're at home, aren't you? You must be. Are you properly locked down?
Yeah, I'm very much at home. Been at home for months. Because the industry I work in, that hasn't really opened back up. I don't have an office. Oh, I do have an office now, but I'm not there today, doing some writing work. But yes, I am at home. All alone at the moment, which is quite nice, and drinking wine in the afternoon, so bring it on.
We are proud advocates of the world of afternoon wine drinking. We're here to sort of lead you astray. I know lots of people think, I'm going to get a book done or a screenplay done, and our goal here is to ruin that and to get you drinking all afternoon.
You effectively are leading me astray, and I genuinely do have commissions to work on. So if they don't come to fruition, I'm going to blame you personally. However, at the same time, I'm really up for tasting some of this wine. So where are we going?
Let's get stuck in. We're going to start with this fella. Can you see? This is called Samurai Chardonnay. And it's the one with the samurai at the top. Samurai Chardonnay from South Australia.
That's the fella.
Yeah, these are all from 10 Green Bottles up the road from you in Brighton, aren't they?
Yes, up in Brighton. Yeah, absolutely. Although interesting with the bottle, if it said Samurai, I might not be absolutely inclined to buy it, but it just says 2019 Chardonnay, so they must be pretty confident about what they're doing because they've not said too much on the front.
You work in television, the theatre. The images, they convey half the story. It's a case of show, don't tell.
Well, absolutely, but then in that regard, it's a man smashing up a tree at the top of a waterfall. So I'm really excited to know what this is going to taste like.
So for everybody at home, this is Samurai. It's got a samurai warrior here. He's got a conical hat on. You can just about see. He's got his big sword and he's wielding it on these vines here. And then the juice is pouring down. I think to show that this is a minimal intervention. It's a pure wine. I sort of shudder to say the word clean wine, but it's going unimpeded into their glass. It's a beautiful looking thing, that.
It's interesting because Samurai doesn't say to me minimal intervention. Samurai means quite a big intervention, so so fair enough. But the couple below don't seem perturbed by it at all. So anyway, right, let's get this.
So what I thought we would do, just to give you a bit of an explanation, I thought we would have a bit of a sort of 28 days later vibe, wines you would have on a desert island, nice refreshing styles of wine, because it's a beautiful day. I can see outside your house. It's like the Simpsons on your window. And so those would be the three wines that we would go and have. But tell me, what do you tend to drink normally?
Do you know what? I'm a bit obsessed by like heavy, buttery, Chardonnay, really Sonoma and Californian. I do like some Chilean as well, but I've noticed when I go to buy wine, I've really got slightly limited taste now, so I'm keen to explore.
We're going to take you back into the realm of fruit and peach and nectarine, apple and pear, a little bit you might find in this fella. Are you getting that? There's no oak in this at all.
No, there's no.
Picking that up.
I am. It's a drier finish, isn't it, at the end, than what I'm used to, which tends to be a little bit sweeter and was going to say milkier, but I don't really quite mean milky as such. But
You are absolutely dead on. That's a very, very astute tasting note. When you get that sort of milky character in a wine, you sometimes get that apple character, sort of apple aroma. That's from malic acid, from the Latin malus, meaning apple. And what you can do, it's sometimes people call a fermentation, but it's actually a conversion, a bacterial conversion. There's this bacteria, this family of bacteria. And what they do is they convert that malic acid into lactic acid from lactose, from the Latin for milk.
No way!
Totally. You absolutely nailed it.
How funny! That's utterly bizarre. I've just confirmed I'm into milky wine. This is absolutely blowing my mind. So how come when I taste that versus what I would normally drink, I taste that towards the front of my mouth more than say the oilier Chardonnays? Is that right, or is that my madness?
You've got really good questions today, right? You remember when you were at school and you had that taste map of a tongue, and it had the different spots on it. That's a complete lie. It's a total fiction. It really doesn't exist at all. There aren't different zones for different kind of tastes. What you do get is around the front and the sides, you tend to get more, it's better for picking up acidity, sort of mouth-watering.
That's exactly what I'm tasting, is more around the edges, but it's not, I've got a kind of, I can't drink New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc anymore. I've not found one because the tang at the back of my throat is just like, there's something kind of metallic about it, or I don't really like it. Whereas that is very refreshing, very crisp. I enjoy that, and it's really nice to get a change from my not one note, but fairly heavy lactating milky Chardonnay.
I'm always going to use this now. The lactating Chardonnay you get.
If someone can have a samurai swordsman slashing a tree down and floating on, I can have a lactating Chardonnay bush dripping down over a couple having lunch or whatever they're doing. But I really do like that. I really do like it.
What is your wine history up in Scotland?
My dad was always into wine growing up, but not on a professional level or anything. But when he used to go and get bottles of wine, not until I was of age or just under age, I suppose, but I just ended up trying, wines with him, and he was fairly knowledgeable or good at buying decent wine. So I kind of followed in his path, I suppose. I mean, I don't study it. I think my dad does know a lot more than I do. But yeah, wine was always a thing for my mum and dad.
I'd like to be able to claim to be Scottish because I've lived in Scotland for 18 years.
Oh, well, yeah, I remember you saying this, yeah.
And I ended up thinking, why am I not considered Scottish? And I lived there for 18 years. I think Ewan McGregor left when he was about 17.
Joe, I'm so sorry, but hearing you say, why am I not considered to be properly Scottish, is probably one of my favourite quotes I've ever heard. That is magnificent.
The last person I ever spoke to when I lived in Scotland was Nicola Sturgeon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was my last day as a Scottish citizen, and I had to interview her in the Scottish Parliament. And I think at the time she was the deputy leader of the Scottish National Party. Alexander was still the boss, and she was a fan of the column, and I had to interview her for a piece. And I remember she said, was I going back to Glasgow? And I said, well, no, actually, you're the very last person in Scotland that I will speak to as a Scottish citizen. Was it particularly good writing Gary Tank Commander? Because, I mean, there you did get to play with, Scottishness, if you like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was determined, even from, like, a young teenager, to try and get an East Coast accent comedy on the TV. In fact, I wrote to the guy when I was 16, who ended up commissioning me age 28, because I said, why on earth all I ever hear are West Coast accents? And he said, well, if that's going to change, we need East Coast writers to come and do stuff. And so eventually I was so pleased that I got a project off the ground. But to get Gary on the TV with a East Coast accent and just a camp guy in the army talking like the way he does, amazing, was just so much fun. It was so much, predominantly, it wasn't about making a point, it was just so much fun to do it.
Because you reprised kind of Gary, didn't you, at the start of lockdown in your cupboard?
Yeah, I did. It was very bizarre. A friend of mine got in touch, Gordon Smart, who had kind of been unofficially approached by the government to say, look, these dry messages from scientists regarding stay at home, lockdown, the science weren't quite hitting home. And so Gordon had gathered together a brilliant team of individuals from the media to try and get the message out, to try and communicate to people in maybe a slightly more comedic way. And so Gordon was really good at, we had lots of discussions about tone, about what the message was. Gary, full stop, gets away with murder. I mean, Gary's the kind of guy that, as you were saying, Scottish accents maybe, but Gary, the character, can really say a lot without people taking offence. So eventually I came up with a few ideas and wrote some stuff, and then Zoe Burns directed it, and we edited it, and we got it out there, and it had a huge response. It was amazing. We got it kind of right, I think, tonally, but I was a very, very tiny cog in trying to just get that very important message out there.
Are you watching Janie Godley doing her spiels from the Scottish Parliament?
Yes, she's just brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant. She is, and also, if you're from Scotland, you would know, or I would hope you would know, she is one of the best live comics I have ever worked with and ever seen. She is phenomenal.
There we go. I've got a cheeky wee rosé for you. Hold it up to the bottle.
No, that was slightly West Indian there. Let's go back to Joe. Right, okay.
No, I can't do Scottish, but I can't tell what I can do. When I was at school, all the staff came from that sort of bit of northeast Lancashire, and they all used to talk like that. Sort of fruity Lancashire voice. No, this is not Fred Dibner's wine, although it'll sort your ear slippers off given half a chance. This is Chateau Mourgues du Gres Gallet Rosé, Costieres de Nimes Rosé.
The colour of it is amazing. Why is it more coppery? Why is that?
It's kind of hard to say. I know there are three grapes in it. There is the Syrah and the Grenache. They sort of soak on their skins for about 2 hours. And then there's Mourvedre, and that gives it more of a kind of herby touch to it. And that sits on its skins for about 4 hours. So that may be giving it a bit more of that kind of copperish colour. The other thing I do know is that now, I'm going to be a bit sort of cautious in what to say here, but certainly when you get that very pale colour of Provençal rosé, some of the less scrupulous producers, I think, sometimes use charcoal to kind of strip the colour out. And, they would actually look this kind of colour, but they sort of strip them out because it's more fashionable to have that very vibrant kind of Barbie pink colour to them.
And it's very smooth, but you can still taste the kind of strength behind it, and it's not a sugary rosé. It's not that horrid sweet strong. It's dare I say balanced? Is it balanced? I think it's balanced.
You're absolutely right. Okay, so there's 4 things: balanced, long, intense, and complex. And those are the 4 ways that we sort of judge quality in wine. You're absolutely right. So balance between fruit and freshness in it. Long is how long it lasts on your palate. Complex is intense is how intense this is. Very kind of strawberries. It's got very kind of keen strawberries, and then complex is all the other bits. And in here, there's kind of herbal smell to it. Now, just before we go on to the next red, we have to mention my friend Matthew Good.
Oh yeah, I've worked with Matthew. Yeah, had a few nights out with him. Yeah.
Your character in Discovery. He's a man of sort of distinction and taste, isn't he? And he's a sort of whiskey collector, wine collector, that kind of thing.
He is. Hamish Osborne he's a demon. The demons are kind of famed for their intellectual capacity, which is a bit of a stretch for me to play. But Hamish, he's a Scot who loves a whiskey. We didn't concentrate too much on the wine, but I think if he was going to have wine in his house, it's going to be of a certain grade. He's a caring guy, an interesting man who wants to protect Matthew as the fan base, who I'm sure are going to be watching this. Hello, everybody. So, yeah, I'm sure Hamish would partake in some decent wine, but whiskey was probably his first love. It's
an unusual friendship, isn't it? Because Hamish is a demon and obviously Matthew plays a vampire.
It is not practically not allowed in their realm, but they met at university and became friends. And Hamish is his kind of confidant, and Hamish feels, I think, for maybe 95% of the time, quite safe with Matthew's character. So, Although I don't think you'd want to get in an argument with him. In fact, maybe the reason you never see Hamish drinking red wine with Matthew is just in case that, creates a slight lust for blood or something.
Like a little neat segue, we're going to go and try this red, which is Le Fraghe Bardolino, £19 from 10 Green Box.
Yeah, that's lovely. It's quite light, isn't it? Kind of not Beaujolais exactly, but it's got kind of quite a lot of fruit but very smooth, lovely.
Love this, and I sort of love the idea. I didn't tell you anything about these wines before. And yet, this is the Beaujolais of northern Italy. And they even make a sort of Bardolino Novello. So it's like Beaujolais Nouveau that they produce in the November of the harvest in exactly the same sort of way.
Oh, wow.
It's a totally different grape. This is made from a grape called Corvina, which typically smells of cherries. It should have a sort of red and black cherry smell.
Oh, that's tremendous.
What you want to do is to pop it in the fridge for 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe a bit longer, and have it again with your supper, and it'll be transformed.
Oh, really? I always remember going to Spain, and in the hotel restaurant, they brought out a Rioja, and it was freezing cold. And that was absolutely tremendous. I think it would only really work in Spain, maybe in the heat. Maybe they just left that. But have you ever had a freezing cold Rioja?
Yeah, I have. Especially you get these Joven Riojas where it's very young fruit, it's very supple, fresh. There's no oak. It's never been near a barrel. When that's cold, it becomes very astringent and sort of taut.
Right,
so they're made for drinking, very young, and they can be really nice, sort of very well chilled. But there is this kind of global movement actually towards chilled reds, and people, they're very popular now. And I think we have this pitch. You're on a desert island. It's going to be hot, it's warm like today, and so you want something that's going to be refreshing, even if it is a red. Bardolino is sort of like a kind of baby Valpolicella. So it's the same grape, but it's made in a slightly different style.
But then I also like Ripasso style of slightly heavier.
You've got quite a sort of big, chunky palate, haven't you? I mean, if you like Ripasso and you like oaky, full-bodied white.
It's quite a chunky personality, maybe. That's what it is. Quite a chunky frame. Shut up, you.
That's one way of putting it, I suppose. So where can people go and see your National Theatre Scotland, National Scottish Theatre? I'm trying to remember which way around it is. Is it online?
National Theatre Scotland, NTS, National Theatre Scotland. So just look on National Theatre of Scotland website or Google National Theatre Scotland, Greg McHugh. And you'll find the video there, and it's a slightly disturbing, post-apocalyptic, but hopefully darkly funny take on this unlikely last man standing.
Brilliant, Greg. Thank you so much for joining us. Here's to you. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers, Joe.
Thank you so much.
Ching, ching.